Hello, PEP scholars. Welcome to another live PEP class. And this evening, we're going to continue with our ability tests. And we're wrapping up booklet 4 of the student workshop booklets issued by the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. So these set of booklets, 4 in all, were issued last year at the workshop, so 2021. We've been going through each booklet, combing through to make sure that we understand what is expected of us as teachers, as parents, as students, sitting the PEP ability test. So we'll continue that tonight and finish up the last 20 questions from booklet 4. Before I do that though, let me play for you the schedule of live classes. Be reminded that we have 5 live PEP classes per week and 6 live CSEC classes per week. Here's the schedule. For some reason, my schedule isn't playing. Maybe I need to remove it and start over. So let me add back my schedule. Hello CSEC math students, I know you are busy preparing for your math tests and your CSEC exams coming up. I have a very important question to ask you. Do you like my new hat? Thank you. Now another important question. Have you ever gotten a math problem wrong simply because of making one little mistake? I'm sure you have, as thousands of other students have. Now in this series, we're going to be looking at the common mistakes that students make with all the topics in CSEC Math. We're going to look at the common errors, demystify everything, make sure you watch every video in this series so that you can avoid making those mistakes. So stay tuned. Hello scholars, did you know that most times when students get problems wrong in mathematics is as a result of one single error or one mistake? Well, this is absolutely true, and we're going to be looking at the common errors that students make in the different topics in mathematics. If we know the errors beforehand, we can certainly avoid making them. Are you ready? Come on, take my hand. All right, so we're going to go through now with our ability test, and I'm going to invite those scholars who are waiting backstage to join me. So far we have Jer, Jaden, Madison. Welcome, guys.
Thank you, Miss.
All right.
Good night, Miss.
Good night. All right, so let's continue now. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go straight to our ability test. All right. I want to welcome all those who are joining us in the chat, those who are joining us on Facebook and on YouTube. Welcome. Welcome, Legende.
Afternoon, Miss.
Welcome.
Okay, Miss, I got my camera figured out, sorted out finally.
Okay, ma'am. So it's PEP ability test, and this is student workshop booklet 4, part 2. So these are the last 20 questions. After the last 19, because we did up to 21 out of the 40. So this set of questions that follow are the artificial language set of items. And artificial language is a fun way to use a set of letters or for an invented language to determine the meaning of other words in the language. Artificial language is a fun way to use a set of letters or for an invented language to determine the meaning of other words in the language. All right, so the words in bold come from the language spoken on a newly discovered planet. Look at the meaning of each word, then answer question 22. So we have parish capital, Bath, Hent, parish hall, Bath, Filk, capital library, Hent, Zanf, parish church, Bath, Zege. So this is
Miss, can I answer question?
Go ahead.
I was saying for the capital library, when it says Zan, I don't understand. I thought it was. I don't see any Z for the Zan.
It's an X, so it's
Or does
pronounced.
it pronounce like? Oh, it's
Yes.
pronounced like that.
Right.
Okay, Miss.
All right, so let me read again. The words in bold come from the language spoken on a newly discovered planet. Look at the meaning of each word, then answer question 22. Parish capital, Bath, Hent. Parish hall, Bath, Filk. Capital library, Hent, Zanf. And parish church, Bath, Zege. All right, Legende, please read question 22.
Number 22. Which word would mean parish library? A. Bath Filk. B. Bath Zam. C. Zam Bath. D. Zeji Bath. Number 22. Which word would mean parish library? A. Bath Filk. B. Bath Zank. Zam. C. Zanf Bath. D. Zeji Bath.
All right, so let's look again. So we want parish library. So study the pattern of the language. Look which word they use for parish and which word they use for library. And then we're going to go
Miss, I
back.
think I see the answer.
All right, so let me see what you're saying. So which letter do you choose?
Miss, it would be Bath. B. Bath Zang.
All right.
Because the parish, when they say parish, it begins with Bath. It starts with Bath, and when they say library, it 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 ends with Zan. So
Hold
that
on.
would be B, Miss.
Hold on. I'm getting stuff mixed up here. All right, so I need to go back. Hold on.
Miss, I was just about to say, Miss, when you reach way to number 31.
All right. Okay, so right, so you're correct for number 22. So if we look back again, what is parish, what is library? So we see that to the three words that have parish something else, they start with bath or bath. So we know that bath is parish. And then the one word that has library, so capital library, library would be Zanf. All right, so that's correct, Legende. Bath, Zanf. Um, Give me a minute. All right. So next question. All right. Madison, can you read this for me? So this is the same artificial language again.
Okay, miss. Delani and miss, I can't really see what it's.
Delani and Delana.
Let me see if I can make it a little bigger. Is that better?
Yes, miss. Delani and Delana made a special alphabet which they used to send messages to each other. Use the special alphabet to find the answers for questions 23 to 25. 23. Who are the first inhabitants of Jamaica? 24. What was the main crop grown by the first inhabitants of Jamaica? What was used for traveling by the first inhabitants of Jamaica? Delani and Delana made a special alphabet which they used to send messages to each other. Use the special alphabet to find the answers for questions 23 to 25. 23. Who were the first inhabitants of Jamaica? 24. Which was the main crop grown by the first inhabitants of Jamaica? 25. What was used for traveling by the first inhabitants of Jamaica?
Let me try again to. Let me try again. Okay. All right. So are you seeing the screen properly?
Yes, miss.
All right. So based on the key and what the symbols mean, who were the first inhabitants of Jamaica? What do those letters spell out?
Tano.
Okay, so everybody agrees. Legende is saying Tanos, Madison, Tano, Rodriguez, Tano. Okay, and in the chat, Marie is saying Tano as well. All right, so everybody agrees. Shelly says also saying Tano. So we know that this letter, so this letter here, or this symbol here means T. This one here means A. See, this one here means I. And this one means N. And this one means O. All right, so that's how we got Tano. And number 24, which was the main crop grown by the first inhabitants. All right, so everybody is saying corn. So let's see. So we have this symbol here, that's C. This one is O, we just had that. This symbol is R. And this one is N. So that's corn. And what was used for traveling by the first inhabitants of Jamaica? So that's C. So just looking at the key, what each letter represents. The triangle is A. This symbol here is N. This one is O, and then we have E. So canoe. All right. And our success criteria, I can decode messages by identifying patterns and reading symbols. So that's the objective for
Miss, I can't see
the
what you're reading. The screen is
artificial
frozen.
language.
I can't see.
Okay, so I'm telling you what it says. I can decode messages by identifying patterns and reading symbols. Okay, so let's continue. Logical deduction. Jer, can you read the logical deduction, what it means, please, twice?
Miss, we can't see it yet.
You're not
Miss, can you hear
seeing it?
me?
No,
Yes,
Miss.
Yes.
Oh, but I changed the screen. I don't know how you're not seeing it. Let me go back and change it again. Can you see success criteria?
No,
No,
Miss.
Lord, what is happening? What is happening? What is happening? What is happening? I'm changing the slides. Oh,
Yes, for
Miss,
me,
all I see
it
here.
looks like everybody
Okay.
else's slides are just starting to change.
pardon me?
Miss,
I
it
just
seems
see
like
local
the
deduction.
slides are just starting to
It
change
just
for me.
changed Miss logical deduction.
Yes, Miss.
Okay. All right. So you're seeing it now.
Yes, Miss.
Okay, Jer, go
Logical
ahead.
deduction. Logical deduction involves using evidence to support a conclusion that is given, or drawing a conclusion based on evidence that is presented. Logical deduction involves using evidence to support a conclusion that is given, or drawing a conclusion based on evidence that is presented.
All right. So we draw conclusions based on information that we're given. Jaden, could you read the extract for me?
Okay. I don't know. It's the same thing. It's still stuck on logical deduction.
All right. Let's just wait until it gets to the next slide. I think the system intends on giving us problems tonight. There are times when the systems want to give problems. All right, so let's just wait and see. All right, so Ashlyn is reminding us we have what? 6 days. My internet connection is stable. All the bars are up. 6 days, 4 hours. 1 week, 6 days, 4 hours, and 40 minutes. Oh Lord. You know what? I think I'm gonna go back to the original slideshow that I was using and see if it will. You hear that, guys? You have 1 week, 6 days, 4 hours, and 40 minutes. Thank you, Ashlyn. Shelly says, saying, oh my goodness, Ashlyn, you're really counting down. You're really counting us down. Ashlyn, you sure you're not making everybody edgy? Or I'm gonna end this slideshow. And just, can you see it now?
Yes, Miss, I can.
Yes, Miss.
We're just gonna use this for tonight because I don't know what this system have planned for us. All right, so go ahead, Jaden.
Okay. The first, read the extract and answer question 26. The first Chinese immigrants opened grocery shops and have become popular across the country. Known as Chinese shops, they could be found in almost every village and town. The Chinese shops were forerunner for supermarkets. The Chinese opened the first supermarkets in Jamaica in the 1950s. Read the extract and, and answer the question 26. The first Chinese immigrants opened grocery shops that have become popular across the country. Known as Chinese shops, they could be found in every village and town. The
In
Chinese shops were
almost,
in
Jaden,
almost
almost.
every village and town. The Chinese shops were forerunner for supermarkets. The Chinese opened the first supermarkets in Jamaica in the 1950s.
All right. Legende, please read question 26.
Number 26. Which of the following conclusions is correct? A. The Chinese were the first to open supermarkets in Jamaica. B. The Chinese were very good businessmen before they came to Jamaica. C. The Chinese owned all grocery shops in Jamaica. D. The Chinese opened supermarkets before grocery shops. Number 26. Which of the following conclusions is correct? A. The Chinese were the first open supermarkets in Jamaica. B. The Chinese were very good businessmen before they came to Jamaica. C. The Chinese owned all grocery shops in Jamaica. D. The Chinese opened supermarkets before grocery shops.
All right. What do you say for that one?
Yes, can we go back to the thing?
You want to see the passage again?
Yes, please, miss. Okay, miss.
All right. So what do you say?
C, miss?
C. The Chinese own all grocery shops in Jamaica.
No,
Miss, I would choose
no,
A.
miss.
I would choose A.
All right. So let's examine that first. Look at
I'll
the
choose
passage.
B.
No,
Legende.
miss.
Hold on, guys. Legende. Do you see where it says the Chinese own all?
No, miss. But I
It
think I
could
know
be
the
found
answers
in.
now.
Okay, so it doesn't say that, right? All right, so Jaden is saying A.
Miss D.
Jaden is saying A. Madison is saying B. And Legende is saying D. So let's look at each one. The Chinese were the first to open supermarkets in Jamaica. Let's see. It says the Chinese opened the first supermarkets in Jamaica. It does say that, doesn't it, guys? See it right here.
Yes, miss.
Yeah, and it does not say that they were good businessmen before they came to Jamaica. That would be an assumption if we were to make that. The passage does not say that. And it didn't say they opened supermarkets before grocery shops. No, the grocery shops, it says the grocery shops were the forerunner for the supermarkets. So the grocery shops were before the supermarkets. So for those who chose A, so Rodriguez, Zamar, Antoine, all right, all those persons are correct. Ashlyn, the scholars are begging you please to stop reminding them. The scholars are begging you please to stop the countdown because you're making them scared. All right, so they have voted that they don't want to hear how long or how soon the ability test will come. They're getting fidgety, and we want everybody to be calm. We want everybody to, just have a calm, confident feeling about this exam. But Ashton is insisting that you guys need to know. They know, they know it's coming. They just don't want the constant reminder. All right, so let's continue. So back to you, Madison. Oh, that's Madison, read this paragraph, please.
Read the paragraph below and answer question 27. John Chin left China to work in Jamaica for a few years. He was from a very poor family. Mr. Chin heard that he could make a lot of money working on a sugar estate in Jamaica. While working on the plantation, he met Mr. Lin. Mr. Lin Sam came to Jamaica from Trinidad because he had completed his contract and the plantation was seriously damaged by hurricanes and insects.
Again, please.
Read the paragraph below and answer question 27. John Chin left China to work in Jamaica for a few years. He was from a very poor family. Mr. Chin heard that he could make a lot of money working on a sugar estate in Jamaica. While working on the plantation, he met Mr. Lin Sam.
I think you should have who came.
Yes, ma'am. Who came to Jamaica from Trinidad because he had completed his contract and the plantation was seriously damaged by hurricanes and insects.
All right, so bearing that in mind, let's go now to question 27. Jer?
Okay, Miss. 27. Which of the following statements supports the conclusion the Chinese came to Jamaica for a better life? Which of the following statements support the conclusion the Chinese came to Jamaica for a better life? A. The Chinese are from a poor country. B. There were no jobs in China. C. Natural disasters caused some people to come to Jamaica. The Chinese could make money by working in Jamaica.
Read the options again.
A. The Chinese are from a poor country. B. There were no jobs in China. C. Natural disasters caused some people to come to Jamaica. The Chinese could make money by working in Jamaica.
All right. So which one would indicate that the Chinese came to Jamaica for a better life?
Miss, I would say A.
All right, so let's go back and see. What does A say, Jer?
That the Chinese are from a poor country.
Okay, does it say that in the passage? Look at the passage again. Is that supported in the passage? That
No, Miss, it only says that they have a poor family. It didn't say
so
that.
poor family is different from poor country, right? All right, so let me hear what the other scholars are saying.
Miss, I have D. The Chinese could make money by working in Jamaica.
All right, so Jaden is saying D. Madison says D. Antoine says D.
Miss, I cannot see the screen. It's blurry.
I'm sorry about that. I couldn't make the letters any bigger, the words any bigger.
Miss D. I can see them now.
So Madison is saying China is one of the richest countries in the world, but the thing is, Madison, this passage was based on events that took place in the 1800s. So at that time, China was not the superpower it is now. So we have to look at the context that the passage is talking about. So it's talking about indentureship, where certain Asians came to the Caribbean to work on the sugar plantations. All right, so, oh my God, people start talking about, oh, I can't even read some of these comments. Okay, all right, so in the chat now, so Ashlyn is saying, oh my God, you people are, you're varying so much from the topic. But I'm enjoying these comments. Okay, so Ashlyn is saying, Miss, you should really listen to music while working. That's how I focus. It's soothing. Well, I completely agree, Ashlyn. I completely agree. I love music. All right, so Cashmark is saying D also. Marie is saying D. So it's unanimous. Everyone seems to agree that the Chinese could make money by working in Jamaica. That's D. That would be the conclusion, that the Chinese came to Jamaica for a better life. They wanted a better life, and so they were willing to come and earn some money so they could get that better life. Their intention was to return to China, or in the case of the other Asians, to India, to Syria and those places. But we all know some of them did not get to return for whatever reason. The success criteria, we should be able to say at the end of this, I can draw logical conclusions based on evidence presented. All right, Jaden, please read.
Okay, miss. Quantitative reasoning. Patterning involves identifying, generating, and describing patterns in a given sequence. Sometimes it requires complex and extending pattern in a given sequence. Quantitative reasoning. Patterning involves identifying, generating, and describing patterns in a given sequence. Sometimes it requires completing/extending the pattern in a given sequence.
All right, so we're going to look at patterns and make predictions according to the patterns that we see. So we are to look carefully at the map of the world and answer question 28. So on the map, the purple areas are the cold areas, the orange areas are warm, and the, what's this now? Pale orange, I don't know what to call this color. These are hot. However, they are not so, the distinction is not so clear, unfortunately, on this map because of the print. The distinction between the warm and the hot is not so clear. But from your knowledge of geography, which you should know your basic geography, right, guys? So Lejande, please read question 28. And then we're going to check in to see if there are scholars waiting backstage, and we're going to invite them to come. Lejande?
Number 20. Miss, are you hearing me?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Number 28. Which of the following is correct? A. Warm countries are closest to the equator and cold countries are closest to the poles. B. Hot countries are closest to the poles and cold countries are closest to the equator. C. Cold countries are closest to the poles and hot countries are closest to the equator. Warm countries are closest to the poles and hot countries are closest to the equator. Number 28. Which of the following is correct? A. Warm countries are closest to the equator and cold countries are closest to the poles. B. Hot countries are closest to the poles and cold countries are closest to the equator. C. Cold countries are closest to the poles and hot countries are closest to the equator. D. Warm countries are closest to the poles, and hot countries are closest to the equator. Miss, I would say C. Cold countries are closest to the poles, and hot countries are closest to the equator because equator is like the center of the.
Okay. All right. So that is absolutely correct, Day. And we can see on the map, so the cold countries, they are close to the North Pole and the South Pole. And even though we can't see the distinction clearly in terms of the color code for these two, we do know from our knowledge of geography, in this case, social studies at this level, that the hot countries are around the equator. All right, so that is correct. And let me see which scholars had that answer. All right, so Madison said C. Rodriguez C, Antoine C, Zamar C, Shalicia C. Right. Yes. So it's geography, Madison, but at this level, this would be included in social studies. Jaden also said C. But Marie's saying my answer is A because Jamaica is close to the equator and Antarctica is closest to the pole. So A said what again? Warm countries are closer to the equator and cold countries are closest to the poles. Jamaica is relatively close to the equator. Oh, okay, so Marie has changed it to C, right? Okay. So let's see backstage if we have any scholars waiting. And we do. We have a lot of them. Oh my God. So all right, so I'm going to ask those scholars who are here now to wait backstage so we can give the other scholars a chance to join us. All right, so I'm going to welcome John, Amari, Shalicia,
Alice and classmates.
Antoine, Zamar. All right, so there are other scholars waiting, but unfortunately we can't have more than 5 persons on the screen at any one time. That's just how the system is set up, right? All right, so I have scholars talking about other stuff, and my scholars are not focusing tonight. They're usually pretty focused. I don't know what's happening tonight. The chat is lighting up with all kind of discussions. All right, so we're going to continue. So we're at 29. All right, John, could you do me the favor of reading question 29, please?
Okay. Number 29. Which of the following completes the sequence? 0 degrees, 30 degrees north, 60 degrees north. A. 30 degrees south. B. 60 degrees south. C. 90 degrees north. D. 90 degrees south. Number 29. Which of the following completes the sequence? 0 degrees, 30 degrees north, 60 degrees north. A. 30 degrees south. B. 60 degrees south. C. 90 degrees north. D. 90 degrees south. Miss, I would say C. 90 degrees north.
All right, I want to say that.
Miss, because Miss, it starts from 0 degrees to Miss, it goes up by 30 degrees.
Okay, so it's going up by 30 degrees. All right, that is correct. And Antoine, you said you agree with that. Madison said 90. All right. So let's continue. All right. So the success criteria would be we're able to say I can recognize and complete an arrangement in a logical order. That's what we should be able to do for this set. All right, Antoine, please read.
Okay, Miss. Representing quantities involves making sense of quantities on understanding the meaning of quantities, not just to compute them, and using a variety of ways to create a coherent representation of a problem. Representing quantities involves making sense of quantities, understanding the meaning of quantities, not just to compute them, and using a variety of ways to create co- coherent,
Coherent.
coherent representation of a problem.
All right, so that's a mouthful. So we need to understand the meaning of the quantities and use a variety of ways to create a coherent representation of a problem. So let's have an idea of what these kinds of problems would actually look like. Shalicia, please read. Shalicia. Shalicia, are you hearing me?
Yes, I will. Sorry. Number 30. Which ocean is the smallest? A. Indian Ocean. B. Arctic Ocean. C. Southern Ocean. D. Atlantic Ocean.
Arctic
Number 30.
Ocean.
Which ocean is the smallest? A. Indian Ocean. B. Arctic Ocean. C. Southern Ocean. D. Atlantic Ocean.
Which one do you say?
On 17,560,000 kilometers square. Arctic Ocean 15,550,000 kilometers square. Southern Ocean 21,960,000 kilometers square. Atlantic Ocean 85,723,000 kilometers square.
So what's your choice?
Miss D.
Shalicia, what's your choice?
Miss E. Arctic Ocean.
You mean B. B. Arctic Ocean is B. All right, so
Miss
the
Arctic
answer.
Ocean.
All right, so the answer is B. So this is the smallest. So they're all in the millions, and 15 million is the smallest. Zamar, could you read 31, please? Zamar. All right, so Zamar seems to be having some issues. Rodriguez, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, welcome, Rodriguez. Can you read question 31, please?
Yes, miss. Which mountain is the highest? A. Kilimanjaro, 5,895 meters. B. Denali, 6,190 meters. C. Aconcagua, 6,962 meters. D. Mount Vinson, 4,890. Which mountain is the highest? A. Kilimanjaro, 5,895 meters. B. Denali, 6,190 meters. C. Wakangopa, 6,962 meters. D. Mount Vinson, 4,892 meters.
All right. So which is the
Miss,
highest?
I say C, Miss.
All right.
Wakangopa.
Aconcagua. And that is correct. In the chat, we have Marie says C, Rose is saying C, Cashmark is saying C. And
C, Miss.
right, so C is correct. Aconcagua is the highest of these given. Amari, you're going to read the next question. So we're asked to look at the relief map of Jamaica and answer questions 32 and 33. So a relief map shows the landforms, the mountains, the plains, the valleys, the hills. That's a relief map. And on the key, the symbol, we have to look carefully because these colors are in the same family here, the way they look according to how the map was printed. So the darker of the shades, that's 500 meters and above. The palest is 200 meters, and the in-between one is 0 to 100 meters above sea level. And we can see the areas on the map, right, where these color codes are placed on the relief map. Amari, please read question 32.
Okay, Miss. Question 32. Which is the second highest mountain peak in Jamaica? Question 32. Which is the second highest mountain peak? A. Blue Mountain Peak. B. Catherine C. Gossamer D. Holly Mount. Blue Mountain. C. Prince Peak. C. Gossamer Peak. Or D. Holly Mount.
All right, so have a look. Look at this. So we have Mile Gully Mountain, Holly Mount, Wandibolas Mountain, Catherine's Peak, Blue Mountain Peak, and Gossamer Peak. Which is the second highest peak?
Miss Catherine's Peak.
All right, that is correct. Catherine's Peak. And it's in the general Blue Mountain area as well. Catherine's Peak. And I should tell you that's the water that I buy, the only bottled water that I buy is from Catherine's Peak. Just throwing that in there. Pure spring water from the Blue Mountains. All right, John, question 33.
Okay, Miss. Question 33. Which statement is correct? A. Most of the highlands are along the coastline. B. Most of the lowlands are along the coastline. C. The highest mountains are in western section of the island. D. There is more lowland on the north coast than on the south coast. Number 33. Which statement is correct? A. Most of the highlands are along the coastline. B. Most of the lowlands are along the coastline. C. The highest mountains are in the western section of the island. D. There is more lowland on the north coast than on the south coast.
All right, so let's look again. So they're talking about comparison between where the highlands are, where the lowlands are. So the highest 500 meters and above, that's the bright, let's call it orange for the purpose of this discussion here, the brighter orange, right? And then the palest is 200 meters and the in between 0 to 100. So what would you say, John?
Richard said most of the highlands are along the coastline.
Most of the highlands are along the coastline. So that would be what letter?
Yes, A.
A. So most of the highland. To be fair, the way the map is printed, this is not a true representation. I should tell you. This is not a true representation of the map. In the printing process, the colors were kind of distorted. So I can see why you would say that looking at the key and how the map came out. But then, John, if you look at the names, the mountain regions, you see where these mountain, if you look at the names and the symbol for mountain peak, you'll see that they are in the interior of the island, right? So like I said, I see why you're saying that, but it's just that this image is distorted. It's not, the colors didn't come out as they should, right? But we can use the names of the mountains. And in fact, the mountains of Jamaica run along the backbone of the island, right along the midsection. We call it the backbone of Jamaica, right along here. And you can see that from the John Crow and Blue Mountain regions, Long Mountain, all the way down the Cockpit Country, going down into Santa Cruz Mountains and so on, right? So it would be most of the lowlands. So these that we're seeing here, even though when we look on the map, it looks like this color, it's actually not. So these are actually plains. These are flat areas, right? So these are plains, okay? We have the Vere Plain, Ligani Plain, St. Jago Plain, and Pedro Plain, and those. All right, so the answer would actually be B. Okay, John? All right, so that was 33. And the success criteria, I can understand quantities represented in various ways. So we should be able to say, I can understand quantities represented in various ways. All right, so Antoine, please read what's on the screen.
Okay, miss. Comparing quantities involves comparing numbers, fractional, whole, or decimal, to determine which is more, less, or equal. It also involves comparing quantities based on their mass, length, temperature, or capacity. Comparing quantities involves comparing numbers, fractional, whole, or decimal, to determine which is more, less, or equal. It also involves comparing quantities based on their mass, length, temperature, and capacity.
All right. Shalicia, number 34.
Okay, miss. Number 34. St. Thomas is 742.48 kilometers square. Which parish is larger than St. Thomas? A. Trelawney, 874.3 kilometers square. B. St. Mary, 611.3 kilometers square. C. St. James, 592.28 kilometers square. D. Hanover, 451.15 kilometers square. Number 34. St. Thomas is 742.48 kilometers square. Which parish is larger than St. Thomas? A. Trelawney, 874.3 kilometers square. B. St. Mary, 611.3 kilometers square. C. St. James, 592.28 kilometers square. D. Hanover, 451.15 kilometers square.
All right. So what do you say, Shelisa? Shelisa, what do you say for this one? And what do the other scholars? What do you say for this one?
Miss A. Trelawney.
Miss A. Trelawney.
Trelawney.
That's correct. Okay. And we have other scholars trying to get into studio, but the room is full to capacity. All right. So I'm going to ask Rodriguez to read the next question. So we're to look at the pie charts showing ethnic groups in Trinidad and Jamaica and answer question 35. So these are the ethnic groups in Trinidad. These are the ethnic groups in Jamaica. Again, the print is kind of distorted. So you know what? I think I'm going to skip this question. I think I'm going to skip this question because, well, let's see if we can do it based on, let's see what the question is. Rodriguez, read question 35. And
Which
scholars, let
ethnic
me
group has
go
a
ahead.
larger percentage in Jamaica? A. Blacks. B. East Indians. C. Mixed. D. Other. Number 35. Which ethnic group has a larger percentage in Jamaica than in Trinidad? A. Blacks. B. East Indians. C. Mixed. D. Other.
All right, so
Miss, can you bring back the image?
there it is.
A. Mixed
There's
blacks.
A. Blacks.
Yeah, I think we can so the blacks would be the pale. So this one is blacks.
Yes,
This one
yes.
is blacks, this one is blacks.
I agree. It's A.
Right. So it will be A, the blacks. There are more blacks in Jamaica than in Trinidad. And the success criteria simply I can compare quantities simply. All right. John,
Okay,
please read.
chapter the estimation things.
Yeah, read that. Estimation.
Estimation involves using approximation estimation to solve real world and mathematical problems. Estimation involves using approximation estimation to solve real world and mathematical problems.
Okay. So we're being asked to estimate. Amari, 36.
Okay, number 36. Which water body of almost 50% of the ocean? Number 36. Which water body makes up almost 50% of the world's ocean? A. Indian Ocean. B.
Amari, please read the percentage beside each one.
Oh, A. Indian 19.5%. B. Pacific
Pacific. Pacific.
Ocean 46.6. C. Atlantic Ocean
Percent.
46.6%. C. Atlantic Ocean 23.3%. D. Southern Ocean 6.1%. Number 36. Which water body makes 50% of the world's oceans? Indian Ocean 19.5%.
B. Pacific Ocean 6.6%, Atlantic Ocean 23.3%, D. Southern Ocean 6.1%.
All right. What do you say, Amari? Which one makes up almost 50%? In other words, which one could we round off to 50?
Miss B.
Yes, Miss, I agree. It's B.
Don't just say B, say what is at B.
Oh, B. Ocean 56.6%.
All right, that is correct. So we can round off 46.6 to 50. And Antoine is saying he agrees. All right.
Same here, Miss.
Rose said B, Pacific Ocean. Kerida, B. Jonathan, B. All right. So those in the chat, thanks for posting your answers. And I'll read them as I see them. The chat tends to lag behind, so don't worry if I'm reading your answer after the question has gone. And the success criteria here is we should be able to say, I can give approximate values. Shalicia, please read.
Okay, Miss. Data analysis involves sorting data based on characteristics. It also requires reading, interpreting, and making inferences from data presented in tables and slash or graphs.
Again, please.
Okay, Miss. Data analysis involves sorting data based on characteristics. It also requires reading, interpreting, and making inferences from data presented in tables and slash or graphs.
All right, so we're expected to analyze tables, analyze graphs. So here we have a table and we're asked to use the information in the table to answer questions 37 and 38. And the table shows 30-year mean or average, so from 1971 to 2000, for individual rainfall stations. And it shows 4 parishes, and the weather stations, the height above sea level of that weather station, and from January to August, these were the readings recorded, how much rainfall fell. So these are in millimeters. All right, so the rain was collected and measured in millimeters, right? So study the table for a little while, and then Antoine is going to read the question. So just have a look at the table, everybody. All right, and I'm going to put up the question for Antoine to read. All right, Antoine. So this is question 37.
Okay, Miss. Question 37. Which weather station received the most rainfall over the period? A. Bernard Lodge, B. Langley, C. Millbank, D. South Savannah. Number 37. Which weather station received the most rainfall over the period? A. Bernard Lodge, B. Langley, C. Millbank, and D, salt savanna.
All right, so let's go back. We want to see which of these four. So bear in mind, Bernard Lodge, Langley, Millbank, Salt Savannah. Which one received the most rainfall over the period?
Could I say which one received the most rainfall?
What do you say, John?
Portland Bank.
So you're saying Millbank. All right. Does Antoine, are you able to say as yet?
Miss? Yes, miss, I've got my answer. Millbank.
Okay, so you're saying Millbank. All right, so if we look at the table, we can see Millbank is in Portland. All these numbers are high, consistently high, in the 400s, 500s sometimes. The lowest was what, 182. And if we look at the other parishes, look at this one in Clarendon, 5 millimeters, 30. Right, so we can clearly see Portland is the winner by a far, far, far. So Millbank takes the prize. Okay, John, 38.
Okay. 138. Which of the following is true? A, the higher the water station, the more
Weather
rainfall.
station.
Oh yes, the higher the weather station, the more rainfall it receives. B, the higher the weather station, the less rainfall. The lower the weather, the more rainfall it receives. The height of the weather station does not affect the amount of rainfall it receives. Number 38. Which of the following is true? A, the higher the weather station, the more rainfall it receives. The higher the weather station, the rainfall it receives. C, the lower the station, the rainfall it receives. D, the weather station does not affect the amount of rainfall it receives.
All right, so let's look.
Whiskey?
We're comparing the height of the weather station. So this is height above sea level.
Oh, yes, miss. Miss, I know the answer. No. Miss, I know my answer.
What's your
It's the higher the weather station, the more rainfall it receives.
letter would that
Agree,
be?
mate.
Which letter would that be, John? Okay.
The
So
higher
we
the weather
can
station,
see Millbank is the highest above sea level, 182, and it has the most. And Salt Savannah is the lowest, just 5 meters above sea level, and it has the least amount of rainfall. So we can conclude then that A, the higher the weather station, the more rainfall it receives. And our success criteria would be, I can read and interpret data presented in a table, right? So we should be able to say, I can read and interpret data presented in a table. Rodriguez, please read.
Problem solving involves using mathematical knowledge and skills to solve real-world mathematical problems. Make sense of problems. 2. Reason abstractly and quantitatively. 3. Use mathematical models to interpret and solve problems. Problem solving involves using mathematical knowledge and skills to solve real-world mathematical problems. 1. Make sense of problems. 2. Reason abstractly and quantitatively. 3. Use mathematical models to interpret and solve problems.
All right, so we should be able to do that. And here we have a chart, which I think I'm going to skip. And the reason I'm skipping some of these tables is because the quality of the way it was printed, the quality of the colors is not consistent with what it was on the original paper. It's distorted. But let's see what the question actually was. Antoine, read that question for me, please. Let's see if we can figure it out.
Okay, Miss. Question 39. Which of the following areas would be least likely to depend on rainfall to water their crops? A. Bernard Lodge. B. Langley. C. Millbank. D. South Savannah. Question 39. Which of the following areas would be least likely to depend on rainfall to water their crops? A. Bernard Lodge. B. Langley. C. Millbank. And D. South Savannah.
All right, so we are supposed to use that table, which, trust me, it is very much distorted. But I think this is based on the graph that we saw before. So from our knowledge of what those answers were, can we safely say Millbank? Do you agree?
Yes, Miss. Yes, Miss.
No. It wouldn't be Millbank.
Because Millbank has
Millbank would use rainfall because they get lots of rainfall. Isn't that so?
Yes, Miss Millbank has the highest.
Yes, Miss.
Miss South Savannah. Miss South Savannah.
Let's
Yes,
go back.
Miss South Savannah.
Let's go back and look. So
Yes, Miss South Savannah had 5. South Savannah height above sea level was 5.
South Savannah had 5. Is South Savannah there in the options?
Yes, Miss. It's C.
Yes, Miss. It's there.
D.
Yes,
Yes, Miss. Yes, Miss. It's there in the option C or D.
Okay. I'm just looking at the original chart. Give me a second. Okay. All right. Let's go back and compare. It's a close tie between South Savannah and Bernard Lodge. If we look at the numbers, even though South Savannah, it has a 5 right here. However, there are several cases where Bernard Lodge had less, several places where it had less than. So here it's less than that. This is less. 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 So I think if we were to add all the numbers, which we should have done, just that we saw that these were huge numbers over here.
Yes, Miss.
I think if we added the numbers here, we would see that Bernard Lodge. So you want to do a quick addition for me? So let's just estimate. So 5 and 43, so that's 48, 78, 128. This will be 170, 279. Round that off to 3, 401. Let's say 450. So South Savannah will be 450. We're estimating. Bernard Lodge, so this will be what? 45, 77, 107, 120, 180, 260. That's what? 330. 370. So you see, this would fall less than when we add up everything, right? So the Bernard Lodge would be the least because you get the least amount of rain. All right, the final question. Hold on, where am I?
Miss South Savannah.
Hold on. Bernard Lodge would be the least. Like,
Excuse me, mister.
yes?
Mister, for South Savannah, according to the calculator, it's 508.
508, right? And Bernard Lodge is 400 and something.
Miss, according to the calculator, South Savannah would be 508.
Okay, yeah, and I'm saying Bernard Lodge is 400 and something. So Bernard Lodge is the least.
It's
I'll work it
439
out.
bucks.
439, right? All right, so John, take us out with the last question, please.
Okay, miss. Number 40. Which month would be best for cleaning? Number 40. Which month would be cleaning drains? A. March, B. August, C. May, D. June. A. March, B. August, C.
Which month would be best for cleaning the drains?
Miss,
Um,
I would, I would say March, miss.
because
Miss, because in Portland, miss, it has 294, and in Clarendon, it has 50, and in Merritt has 170, and in Chickasaw has 40.
all right, so of the months given, March has the least amount of rain, right? And that's when you would want to clean the drains. You wouldn't be cleaning the drains during the rainy season. You would clean them during the dry season or the drier parts of the year when they are not flooded. All right, so it's March, and our success criteria would be I can identify a problem and use mathematical knowledge and skills to solve it. I can identify a problem and use mathematical skills and knowledge to solve it. All right, so we're at the end. Okay, we're at the end, and we've gone over our 1 hour, our 1 hour. Um, right. So, okay. I'm just looking back now through some of the answers that are in the chat, reading through the chat. Right. So we did change from Salt Savannah to Bernard Lodge. So Kerida was saying no, it's Bernard Lodge. So we did come to that conclusion, Kerida, that is Bernard Lodge. All right. All right, so that's it, guys. Thank you for being with me and keeping me company and participating and sharpening your skills, because that's what you're doing right now. By participating, you are sharpening your skills and you are making yourself more and more ready for your exam. So tomorrow, we're going to have our critical thinking skills class. And on Friday, we're going to have another ability test. So we're packing in the ability test since we have that coming up full speed. All right,
Miss,
thank you
what
for
about the
having
CB?
me. What about the what?
CB test.
Yeah, man, we're gonna do that, but because the ability test is coming up, I just wanna pack in some ability tests, right? Right? Yeah. We just wanna do as
Yes.
much, right? Just for another 2 weeks max, and then we'll go back to our regular schedule, right? We're gonna go back to our
Yep.
regular schedule. All right, so thank you guys. I have a CSEC class that I'm late for because this class went way over the 1 hour, but that's okay. Sometimes it's gonna do that, that's fine. Okay, so I'm gonna play the schedule now to remind you of our live classes and when you can tune in for that. math students, I know you are busy preparing for your math tests and your CSEC exams coming up. I have a very important question to ask you. Do you like my new hat? Thank you. Now, another important question. Have you ever gotten a math problem wrong simply because of making one little mistake? I'm sure you have, as thousands of other students have. Now, in this series, we're going to be looking at the common mistakes that students make with all the topics in CSEC Math. We're going to look at the common errors, demystify everything. Make sure you watch every video in this series so that you can avoid making those mistakes. So stay tuned. Hello scholars. Did you know that most times when students get problems wrong in mathematics is as a result of one single error or one mistake? Well, this is absolutely true, and we're going to be looking at the common errors that students make in the different topics in mathematics. If we know the errors beforehand, we can certainly avoid making them. Are you ready? Come on, take my hand.